Liquid, the Starcraft forum that created legends. Many of whom made their way to poker. This is how Liquid Poker was born.
My name is Victor Gusens.
Nazghul founded Team Liquid with Liquid Meat in 2001.
용 패트리 선수 세계 최강 그르르르라는
준저 선수 병을 하나도 못 뽑아요.
Elky and me were roommates for 4 years, and we played a lot of poker together.
I'm all in.
And he goes all in.
Hoo-ha, let me hear it now.
자, 이번 turno WCG.
Dan Schreiber loses it to Hennigan.
Disfrutarla completamente, no importa lo que dure. All right, everyone. I am now in the Startail house.
TeamLiquid.net's very own Jinro, formerly known as Frozen Arbiter on the forums.
Jinro retires, turns into Tian Yuan on Liquid Poker.
Guys, Joeingram, aka Chicago Joe here. About to break the record for the most hands that I'm on.
Hey guys, I'm here with my buddy Ryan Down.
I went out in like the most horrific way.
Peter Marshall Jennings, the best guy I know. Philip Longplay Brindal, the crazy Swede. Johnny Cosmo, Stragos, Drone, all many other legends. And let's not forget, Ryan Neely.
One poker tip for everybody today. Be a f***ing boss.
Alright guys, I have a blast from the past here. I can't believe it. I have a guest here from Liquid Poker who happened to be in Vegas. Why don't you introduce yourself?
How's it going, everyone? My name is Rick Sanchez, aka PuertoRican. So, former Starcraft player and longtime hoster at Liquid Poker for, I guess it's been 18 years now. So, yeah.
18 years, I can't believe it. If you guys don't know what Liquid Poker is, basically, besides poker strategy, it's been my first foray into poker. There has been an army of Starcraft players coming from Team Liquid. By the way, Team Liquid is still pretty much alive, right?
Yeah, nowadays, I mean, I haven't visited the website in a long time, but from what I know, there's still a strong community, especially with the newer games. So, yeah, they have a strong following nowadays.
Yeah, they evolved, basically. I'm not sure what games they focus on now, but back in the day, Team Liquid was one of the #1 sites online for esports. Yep. Esports hasn't been so popular. I remember staying late at night watching the Korean streams. Do you remember those days?
Yep.
You know,
yep.
You know, when esports was basically just some crazy Koreans playing over there, and you would watch them. You wouldn't understand a word they were saying, but it was absolutely exciting. You know, Tashimida, something like that, Boxer Nada, and stuff like that. And Team Liquid was a massive site. What happened then was, at some point, a bunch of Starcraft players suddenly started shifting into poker.
Yeah.
Do you know why that was initially?
So basically, you get to a certain point in esports, specifically Starcraft, where you just want the next best thing. It's like, okay, we've dominated at this specific thing for a while. We want like a new challenge, and we also want to make money. So the poker scene just hit the Starcraft scene at some point, and all the best foreigners, the best Americans and Europeans just kind of took it up. And once Elky and Nazghul and a few others started playing poker very heavily, it's just all the other top players followed, and then we all, they all went to Liquid Poker, and then eventually I followed. I was never a top poker player, but I loved to play it, and I followed where everyone else went.
You know what? I have to admit, I absolutely hated this. I was absolutely against it because back in the day, back around this poker era, Starcraft was my life. You know, it was such a game that you basically did the same as a poker pro. You would spend 8 hours per day practicing, hanging out in lobbies, reading guides, arguing about strategy, and especially we were a bunch of young guys. You know, 17, 16, 20 years old.
Yeah.
And it was your whole life. And I couldn't believe that Nazghul was a very good poker player, a very good Starcraft player. Elky, most of the poker guys will still know Elky, obviously. He's still at the circuit.
Yeah.
They were icons that all the Starcraft players look up to.
Yeah.
And we couldn't believe, you know, these guys they're such big celebrities in our small bubble that doesn't pay anything almost.
Exactly.
Some of them went to Korea. They made a couple, maybe $10,000, $20,000 in their career. But it was infuriating that they are going actually into poker. And my question for you, Puerto Rican, is why do you think that so many StarCraft players, so many gamers, so many sports people have become successful in poker? Why do you think that is?
Well, basically, if you were a top StarCraft player, this was the belief back then. If you were a top StarCraft player, you had the same mentality and drive and mindset to apply the same skills from StarCraft, the real-time strategy game, to playing poker. So if you were aggressive, you were not afraid to take certain risks in StarCraft, you could apply those same skills to poker. But there's also different, like a different way of thinking, where only the best were doing well at the time, but eventually kind of like the average player started to catch on. But yeah, it had not exactly the same mindset, but it took some of the same skills from StarCraft that you could apply to poker and become successful. Nowadays it's a little bit different, but yeah, that was the initial, in my opinion, that was the initial thing. Do
you think it would be the case, like these days, do you think people from esports couldn't just jump over to poker and take their mentality? Do you think it changed?
Yeah, I think it changed. I mean, the games nowadays, it seems like it's like less skillful, I think. I mean, you could apply some skill, like there's similar skill sets from StarCraft 1 to, I guess, StarCraft 2 or the other games. But yeah, it's like a total, I guess nowadays it's kind of easier. There's a lot more team games, whereas poker and StarCraft 1 was, single player for the most part. So, I mean, there could be some successful Dota or other players, but I don't know. I think that time's kind of passed.
Yeah, I think people maybe don't realize StarCraft 1 was flawed, but it was beautifully flawed.
Yeah,
it was just like perfect storm of flawed game design.
Yeah,
where you had limited units you can control, your workers, your SCVs, they were flawed, but in a particularly spectacular way. That if you had both high skill level, strategic one, and you had really fast hands, and you could use that to your advantage really quickly, you would suddenly dominate. So this basically transferred. And yeah, this is interesting that probably team games won't translate as much to games like poker as individual games like StarCraft. Yeah, that's definitely true. Who do you think is the most successful from the age-old era in actual poker?
So Nazghul even made it. He wasn't like as famous as Elky, but he's still, I'm pretty sure he's still playing poker. From what I remember, he was making a good amount of money. Let's see here. Even some lesser known American players, Slog4, he was an American Zerg player, as well as there's Doomer, he's a Puerto Rican former StarCraft player.
Puerto Rican,
yeah. So yeah, he was the #1 player from Puerto Rico, and he still plays and posts on plays poker and posts on Liquid Poker.
Right.
Yeah. And let's see here. Yeah, I mean, they're all kind of scattered. Even some of the top pros eventually switched and made some money in Korea. Some of the top StarCraft players made some money. Even Yellow.
He did? Yeah. No way. Yeah. He actually played poker.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. I'm not sure how he's doing nowadays, but yeah, there's a time where he made some money.
One person we didn't mention is Joeingram.
Oh, Joeingram, yeah.
I actually spoke to him. I made a terrible joke. Next, it's like, yeah, we come from StarCraft. He barely remembers that he came from this background, but yeah, back in the day, I think he was the typical representative of the StarCraft culture. You know, he was the guy who had the world record for no fucking reason.
Yeah.
He would be playing for, I think, 48 hours, was it? He was playing like 24 tables online, setting those records.
Yeah.
And obviously he was a top hat on poker table ratings, but he wasn't the top poker player. But I think he's probably the most famous figure that has the most recognition in the poker world, besides Elky, right?
Yeah, that makes sense, because I mean, I even showed you this morning. I was watching his recent interview with G-Man. So I mean, he's done well enough to keep his name in the poker world. He's very, from what I could tell, he's very kind of gets along and is able to easily communicate with pretty much everyone he meets. So he's turned that into a successful career as far as in the poker scene, just talking to everyone, knowing everyone, getting everyone to want to interview with him versus other people. So yeah, I mean, he's doing well in the poker scene.
Liquid Poker was obviously huge at one point. There was so many posts. At one point, they kind of fell off, though. Do you know why that was?
So I mean, other people started doing other stuff. Like I started posting there originally in 2005 at Liquid Poker, and then a few years after that, even I took 2 years off of posting there, just because so back when I was in the StarCraft scene, I had moved to Korea. and not to play Starcraft, but I worked in the Starcraft scene. So
what were you doing in the Starcraft?
I was actually doing what you're doing now.
Oh, right. Okay, really?
So yeah, there was a website called SC for All, which stands for Starcraft for All, and it was based in Korea. And so I worked for this company that owned a Starcraft and a Counter-Strike team called Istro.
Oh yeah, Istro, of course, yeah.
So we had brought like 2 different foreigners over there to become pro gamers. Like they're American guys. One was let me see here, what's his name? I forgot his nickname, but his real name is Greg. And but anyway, it doesn't really matter. I'll think of those people later. But anyway, yeah. So I was doing what you're doing. I was interviewing any foreigners who went there to Korea, and even the Koreans. So I'd write news, edit news. We had a weekly show. It was me and this other guy named Artosis. And Artosis is still in the pro gaming scene as a commentator. Him and Tasteless.
Yeah, Artosis and Tasteless. They have been one of the biggest figures in Starcraft 2 scene, right?
So yeah, I mean, originally it was I was the first no one really knows, but I was the first foreigner working in Korea for the Starcraft scene.
How did you get that? I know the Koreans. They said, okay, we have our bubble. We're making money here. We're not really selling the rights anywhere abroad.
Yep.
And yeah, people we were aware that they're watching us. They're watching us in Korean. But we could actually like get some outreach, get some money, and spread esports.
Yeah.
So I know they themselves wanted to get the people in. Those were like the Wild West days.
Yeah.
How did you get there though? How come you were picked to do this?
So in 2003, 2004, 2005, I worked part-time for this company called GGL, which is the Global Gaming League. And this guy who I know who worked, this Caucasian guy who's from America, he worked in the Counter-Strike scene in Korea. And he knew I liked Starcraft. I always talked about it when we worked at tournaments. And he told his CEO about me. In 2007, I was working at an event called World Cyber Games. And I was working in Seattle at the time, and his CEO flew out to see me. We had a meeting about an hour. And then a week later, when I got home from the event, he said, do you want a job? So I said, sure. So I was like, sure. He said, this is how much you'll get paid. You could move to Korea. We'll fly you over, and you could live with the pro team and don't have to pay rent. And you just come to work to the office every day and do your thing. And so yeah, it was originally I got hooked up from a friend, and then I paid it forward by getting Artosis a job in Korea. So it was originally it was me. I moved there, and Recrul was living there at the time from the poker scene at Liquid Poker. So Recrul was living in Korea, and him and I hooked up. And then about a month later, or a few weeks later, Tasteless had moved there to work there. And then this is in early 2008. I was working there in 2007, but I saw Tasteless in 2008. And then later in 2008, towards the end, we brought Artosis over to work with me at the company. So we're all in the same group for a while. Artosis and I lived together at the Pro Gaming House. Yeah, so it was good times. Yeah, I mean, we never played with the pro gamers because they were always downstairs doing their thing. But we interviewed them. We got to hang out and just talk about things about anything. Like, it wasn't just that pro team. We got to see all the like SKT, like all the popular pro gamers at the time. We had access to them.
And by the way, guys, if you don't know, obviously it's gonna be guys from Liquid Poker watching, but back in the day, pro gaming teams in the Western world, it wasn't that common, okay?
Yeah.
Nowadays it's normal that every single pro gamer team they have proper pro houses, and for example, the Czech poker pro Martin Kabelhel has his own team, and he will fly the Counter-Strike teams over. They will have their own massage ladies and psychologists. They have a pro chef, and all this micro massages, all this nutrition and stuff like that. But back in the day, this is a completely different world these days. Back in the day, we had nothing like this. For us, basically, the Koreans that played for 8 hours, they had professional contracts. Even back then, they had a couple $100,000 right per year. The top ones.
They would play minimum of 8 hours. 8 hours is like very like least amount of hours they played. They would wake up in the morning at I think they would eat breakfast, and by the time they got downstairs, it's probably like 9 or 10 a.m. And they would play all the way to at least midnight. So there would be some breaks in between, but it was more than a full-time job. And like several of them never even you never even saw them on TV. They never made any money, so they just wasted all those years. Whereas the top ones, they made some money, but I mean, what are they doing now? Who knows?
If you don't know, guys, World Cyber Games was basically just like today's the World Poker Tour World Championship. You get the WSOP in poker. It was basically it for video games. If you exclude the Korean scene, there was basically a world within a world. But yeah, so you are the reason why Tasteless and Artosis actually got into Korea.
So yeah, I mean, Tasteless, he ended up working for a different company at the time. But Artosis, yeah. So he helped me out with some Global Gaming League stuff online, and I told him, he probably doesn't even remember this, but I told him, if you help me out, I'll make sure to look out for you. And I ended up getting a job in Korea, and then yeah, we flew him out there, and then that's how he stayed in Korea longer than I have. I think he moved back to Canada about a year ago, but he was there for like a good 10 years. He had commentating. He has a family now. He met his wife over there. So yeah, he's yeah, it was just us three at first. We were just kind of doing our thing, the only foreigners there. And yeah, so it was good times. A lot of good memories.
How would you rate those times, you know, when you look at them in retrospect? Is it like hard to believe you were there, or is it just something that is now part of your life?
I mean, there's still like, so for example, there are still professional Starcraft tournaments that go on. You can watch them on online whenever, but I have no interest to watch any gaming anymore. It's just kind of in my past. I respect everyone who still does it. I like all of the good memories I have from when I was in my teens and 20s. Most of them came from Starcraft because I was able to travel around the world. I went to 15 different countries. I met a lot of different people. Some of them I'm still in contact with. It's just, and it even helped me out later on in life where I was able to apply those like social skills and meeting different people from different parts of the world to teaching, because I have a lot of, I have like a diverse classroom where a lot of people are from different countries. So yeah, it just, Starcraft is, I'm glad that it was in my life. I'm glad that it's over, but I am glad that Starcraft is in my life. And yeah, I wouldn't want to get rid of those memories at all.
There you go, part of your life. So then, there you go. So that's Team Liquid. Now you jump into poker. How did you personally transition? You know.
So for me, it was a tough transition because going from Starcraft to poker, like how I said earlier, where certain people could apply their same skill set from Starcraft to poker. I was a Protoss player, and we're always go 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 go. Let's flood everyone with as many strong heavy units as possible, like Zealots.
Yeah, I'm a Protoss main as well. Yeah, of course.
So my mentality was always, let's get money as fast as possible.
Yeah.
So I was always into turbo tournaments, sit and goes, and I didn't really have the patience for like grinding out like long daily tournaments like you're here in Vegas doing playing in tournaments. I don't have the patience for that. Maybe nowadays, since I'm older, I could probably do that, but when I was younger, I just had no patience, had ADHD. I just always wanted to do something. So
yeah, these days it takes actually the main event here. I think it's 7 days that you have to play to get to the final table. 3 days, on day 3, you get into the money only, you know? So yeah, so you were playing turbos. How did you do in them?
I mean, it was up and down. So I mean,
were you ever actually a professional poker player?
No. I would never call myself a professional. Not even semi-pro. It was something that I was okay at, sit and goes and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely not a professional. And then once Black Friday happened, all my funds got stuck in full tilt, and I didn't care about signing the form to eventually get it back a few years later. I was done with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and then I just, I think around that time I started watching a lot more UFC. And then for the past like 14 years, I've been betting on UFC.
I must say, first of all, I hate it that people from Team Liquid went into poker. And then I hate it that I went to Liquid Poker. I have 10,000 posts there, all right? And suddenly everything I see is MMA at one point. And why do you think that all those people from Liquid Poker, there was so many, suddenly started getting interested in MMA? Was it your fault? Were you like the catalyst, or was it just a natural thing for competitive gamers and poker players?
So when back when Liquid Poker was people were more active there, a lot more people cared about, well, they still cared about poker, but they also wanted to get into making some other money, other forms of money. everyone likes to see fights. So even if you're not betting or you are betting, everyone wants to see some action.
Well, my grandmother maybe not, but you know, most guys that are in this environment.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, it was fun. It's fun to watch, and if you have someone who's able to make you some money, that's another thing too. And it's more of a community thing. If everyone's watching at the same time, it's kind of like watching StarCraft back in the day. If everyone's watching at the same time and it's interesting, then it's fun for everyone. And but yeah, I mean, nowadays we have less MMA stuff going on at Liquid Poker since I stopped posting less about that. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's just a community atmosphere of you have something fun that everyone watches, and sometimes this guy could make you some money, sometimes not, but yeah. That's pretty much it.
How do you think it happens that these sort of niche sports or niche interests, they actually become mainstream? What are the reasons behind it that this actually happens?
Well, you have to think of it. Okay, so you have MMA and then you have boxing, right? So if there are many boxing events, we'll take boxing for a moment. If there are many different boxing events around the world and it gets the right promotion, then people take more interest. Oh, these guys are fighting. Oh, this guy's from my country. He's fighting this other guy from a different country. So let's back this guy from my country and see how it goes. It's like people get into boxing or MMA, like viewing it in different ways. But like especially here in Las Vegas, UFC was born in Las Vegas.
Oh, right, I didn't know that actually.
So yeah, so they have a lot of push. They make a lot of money for the state. So every time there's a UFC event, the state makes a lot of money, and but yeah, so I mean, there's an event almost every weekend. Yeah, it's just, I mean, I started watching it originally in 1993, and then I would say within the past like 15 years, it got a lot more popular. Yeah.
What would you counter that then? Is it working with the government, or I know Vegas was a bit catalyst for that, but you know, how come StarCraft and esports became popular? Mm-hmm. I guess just the kids started playing them. Yeah. How come UFC was the one that came from almost nothing, you know, and it built up such a worldwide phenomenon?
Yeah, I mean, it's the right place at the right time with the right promotion.
Right.
If the UFC, if Zuffa never put if they never put millions of dollars in promotion and had the state backing them, then they wouldn't have been as popular. So, I mean, the original owners of the UFC, or the second owners rather, the Zuffa brothers, sorry, not Zuffa brothers, the Zuffa company, they already have a couple of casinos here in the state. So they have a lot of money, they can do a lot of promotion, and it's just right place, right time. If you market it in a certain way and make it look interesting in the promos, oh, this guy just got his head kicked in. Bellator, this guy just got his skull caved in by a knee. Yeah, it's like promotion, right place, right time, a lot of money to do backing. And then almost everyone wants to see a fight if it's good. And so yeah, it's just a mix of everything. Yeah.
So what would be the key to actually doing well in MMA betting?
So let's say there's an average of 12 fights per fight card, just for UFC. There are many fight cards like happening every day, like almost every day, but like specifically on a Saturday, just in America, there are many, and then you count Europe, Asia,
yeah,
wherever else. So there are many events, but so let's say UFC only, there's about 12 fights per card average, and you see an event almost every Saturday. So in order to make money, don't bet all of the fights. It's hard not to bet all the fights, because you're like, oh, I just won this first fight, I bet from this first fight, and now I want to bet the second fight, who I don't really know these people, but let me bet something on them. Let me just put a little something.
Well, hang on, like as a poker player, I want to lower my variance, right? I want to check out all those fights, spread my money, you know, lower the risk, see what happens. Why is that not the right approach?
So in order to be a long-term winner, you want to lower your exposure to how many fights you're betting on. So, for example, yesterday there were 12 fights. I probably bet like 6 of them. I should have only bet like 4 of them, but I bet 6 of them. 2 of them were like last-minute decisions that I was live betting.
Okay.
So
I can see why that is a bad thing.
Yeah. So,
but why would you want to bet on less fights then?
So there's always a lot of new fighters who are coming into the UFC. Like yesterday, there was this guy from Bahrain. and he is known for losing his like gassing out and like losing his energy within the first round. But he smashed this other guy. He was an underdog, and he ended up closing as even money with this other guy. So it's sometimes you don't know anything about the fighter. There's no tape to watch. You just kind of have to like do guesswork.
Oh yeah, I mean, you have websites obviously that show you the past record. There's no ELO in MMA, is there, or anything like that?
Not really. You can't just look at records. You can't just look at where they're from. Yesterday there was this girl from Australia. She was 9-1. She was the favorite, like -175. She got dominated for a round and a half, then got submitted by this other girl from Brazil. So it's like, especially with women's MMA, it's similar to women's tennis, where they could just be having a bad day. Maybe they broke up with their boyfriend, or something's going on in their life, and she could be the best fighter in the world, but she could get beat by like number 20, who's just like a big upset. Whereas
this might sound sexist, guys, but seriously, my aunt is a Brown University tennis coach, and look at the results in women's sports. Okay, it actually is like this.
Yeah. So,
but you can't predict that. If you're betting, obviously you're not gonna like check these things.
Yeah.
Are you? Like,
well, I mean, that's the thing. In order to be a successful long-term bettor for MMA, you have to do all these random like bits of research. Like, where did they train at? Did they train at their main gym? Did they go to different places this time? Did they fly abroad? Who did they bring in from other camps? How long were they training? Is the fight camp? Are they flying from like to Las Vegas from like Australia, like that girl from yesterday, or did she train in America this time with the local team? There's a lot, because there's like the what's it called when you fly from like a long distance?
Jet lag.
Yeah, jet lag.
Oh, so, I felt that. Yeah, I came to play here to 10.4K, 40 million guarantee, and I came in on one day break, and then I went to play right away, and I was feeling fine. But in retrospect, no, you're not. You're not fine, right? Yeah. If you fly for 20 hours somewhere, your body needs to get used to that. Yeah. So, all right. So all this research goes into actually a successful bettor.
Yeah, and even something as minuscule, even as something as minuscule as the size of the cage. So last night there was a pay-per-view event for UFC, and they were fighting at the T-Mobile Arena. So when they fight in most places, they use the large cage, and when they fight in this place called the Apex Center in Las Vegas, which a lot of events happen there, it's a smaller cage. So if it's a smaller cage, you have less room to move around. If you're a pure striker and you're facing a guy who's a wrestler, you have less space to move away to try to get away, right? So wrestlers do well generally in the smaller cage because they're able to get their hands on the opponent much faster. It's easier for them to like kind of corner them. So there are many different things you have to kind of look into when you are betting on MMA. And it's just, yeah, I mean, even you could do like all the research and say, okay, this guy who's like -250, he should win here all the time. But I mean, and any little random thing could happen. I mean, there's been like several times where like even Conor McGregor, have you heard of him?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So I mean, his last fight, he broke his leg. He kicked this other guy, and he broke his leg. I mean, you can't really predict that. So. Yeah,
there's nothing you can do about that. So yeah, what do you think about Izzy? You know, if the Czech fights are watching, what is the opinion in the UFC world about him?
So everyone loves him. And all the foreigners, we call him Yudi, right? So he's basically, I was watching him back when he was still fighting in Europe. I think it was, what was it? He was fighting in a couple different events prior to the UFC. It was usually on, I think, Ryzen events, actually.
That was in Japan, yeah.
In Japan, yeah. So he was fighting on New Year's Eve shows. He fought this guy, King Mo, a couple times. But yeah, he's been grinding. There's a bus coming here. But anyway, so yeah, Yudi's been grinding the MMA scene for a long time. He's skilled, and he's able to adapt to whatever you're doing. He's upgraded his skill over the years. His major thing is that he's a little reckless. So his style is very unique. But if you're a patient counter striker, you can catch him doing things that he shouldn't be doing, having his hands down, going like this, moving around. But yeah, he's a very good fighter. He's a former champion in the UFC. He fought for the title again recently, but came up short. But he was just coming off of a long layoff at the time from an injury. So he'll be back for sure. But yeah, he's probably one of my top 5 fighters currently in the UFC, just because he improves his skill all the time. He's unique. He's a finisher, and he's overall exciting to watch.
You know, in terms of marketing, I think the progression came kind of a similar way. You need the Conor McDavids to actually popularize the sport, right? To basically be in the media. Do you think they are necessary? Maybe not for you as a purist, but to get into the general knowledge of the public.
Yeah, I mean, so that's part of why UFC got so popular. There were less than 10 like popular people in the UFC who've like brought the eyeballs. It's like they could either be a big knockout guy like Chuck Liddell from like a long time ago, Anderson Silva, what's her name?
Ronda Rousey.
Ronda Rousey. There we go. For the women, Conor McGregor, and there's some other people too. But yeah, you need these big stars in order for the masses to really care about whatever you're doing. And especially,
what I mean is like the speech, like they speak.
Oh, the way they speak.
The way they speak, yeah. The way they try to basically make a big spectacle out of it.
Yeah. So I mean, being good on the microphone is very important, and especially so you have Conor McGregor, for example. He's brash. He's outlandish. He's whatever he says, he wants to make sure that everyone remembers what he's saying. And you even had. Before you had Chael Sonnen. He was like the OG of talking crap in MMA. He did that with basically everyone he fought. So then you could be the best fighter, but if you are quiet and you don't really say much, no one's going to really care that you're the best fighter. Kind of like the current welterweight champion, Leon Edwards. He's super skilled, but he doesn't say anything.
Don't know that name.
Exactly. I think he just defended his title last night.
Right.
Yeah. So, and everyone knows who his opponent is. Oh, if you're in the MMA scene, everyone knows who Colby Covington is, because he's super into Trump. He hates everyone. If you're not American, he basically talks crap about you. But the actual champion, no one really knows who he is, because he's quiet, he's reserved.
Yeah, and this is what I mean, because Prochaska, when he actually talks, he's one of the guys that goes extreme mindfulness way. Obviously, he started in a way. Do you know how he started his fighting career? Like how he practiced?
No.
Okay, so in Czech Republic, you have it's basically small villages, and you have a disco, right? You have local village parties, and you know how usually have these like, and maybe you probably in the deep south you have it as well. You go to a party, and you bump into someone, and then just like the local guys are like, "What? You have a problem with me?"
Yeah.
So he would go to these discotheques, whatever, for the sole purpose of finding these douchebags, trying to bump into them, and trying to make them ask him to go fight outside. And
to get some practice.
Because he didn't know he didn't know there was anything like MMA, right? Yeah. He was just playing outside. He didn't know where to channel his energy, so he was doing this to practice. I think he got probation once because he like busted naturally.
Yeah.
But besides that, then it's like finding a religion. He found the way of the samurai, the 5 rings, and Eckhart Tolle. He found them, and actually when he is on the mic, he's very thoughtful. He's kind to his opponents. But I think he's like the polar opposite to Weimola and Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
But still, he actually managed to get very uncharacteristically, right? Because he's not an outspoken guy to get there. Why do you think that is?
So while he is quiet, his whole appearance, the way he carries himself is unique in itself. So what I mean is, no one else has a hairstyle like him so like right when you look at him, you're like, okay, look at this dude. He's super tall. He's got a unique hairstyle, and his beard stands out too. He's a full beard. And then you're like, oh, okay, is he any good? And then you actually see him fight. He's actually okay. His fighting style is unique. So everything about him, from just like his short responses to whatever he talks about, just his whole appearance, and then way he fights, everything's unique about him. So there's no one else. If you saw a silhouette of just him, you would know who he is. Like if you watch MMA, you would know who he is, just because his hairstyle, the way he stands. And if you're unique, then people are going to care about you. But if you're just a good fighter and you're not unique really in any way, then no one's gonna really be able to set you apart from other people. So being unique is important. Talking is important, but if you are unique, And you could talk, if he learns how to improve his, I guess, promotional skills on the mic, he could even be much bigger than he is now.
Yeah, let's see. We have to start winning again, you know. With his style, obviously, it's reckless, it's up and down. He actually practiced in a way that he would go down a lake on a buoy. It was like, okay, either I come up with something revolutionary for myself, or I die here. I accept that, you know, he's the kind of a person. So yeah, hopefully, actually he gets in there. Right, there we go. So one last thing, coming back to Liquid Poker, because probably Liquid Poker. Hopefully, guys, you lurkers, if you are here, if you are still watching, let's bring up some of the users, you know. So you know what? Let's have 3 words about these Liquid Poker users. Joeingram.
Joeingram. My thoughts about him.
3 words. They come to mind.
Oh man, skilled, well-spoken, and interesting.
Recrull.
Oof, man. Let's see here. Definitely unique. Player, and skilled, because he was a skilled poker player and Starcraft player.
Naily.
Oh man.
Do you remember Naily?
Yeah. Let's see here. Unique. I would say forgetful, just because certain people want to forget him. And let's see, what else? I guess inactive, because he's not really active that too much anymore. Naily,
where the hell are you? You know, I'm just guessing every half a year you come back and you say, I'm gonna make it big in poker. You know, I want to stake now, and I'm gonna finally break through. We missed those posts, Naily. You know, I'm gonna hit you up. Lostaccount, because I know what you said about him recently.
Yeah, I mean, let's see here. Outspoken. Definitely outspoken. Let's see here. Oh man, what's another word? What's a synonym? Let's see here. Hated. Yeah, not by me, but by other people. And well, this isn't one word, but wants to be loved. He wants to be liked by other people.
Oh, so. that's kind of deep.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Favorite, is he Mexican? Baalim.
Oh man.
He is Mexican, right?
Yeah. I would say active. So active would be one. I would say I would say hardworking, because back when he was sponsored, not many people were sponsored, and
he was one of the first stars Mexican players,
just to get sponsored is a big thing, and so you don't just get that because you're decent. I mean, you have to put in the work, and so yeah.
I always saw him as very edgy on Liquid Poker, so you don't picture him as someone like, oh, he's this brand of poker stars, you know. That it was interesting.
Yeah, so I would say active. I don't know if I said hardworking as, but yeah, active, hardworking, and intelligent. He seems intelligent from what I can see.
Do you remember Marshall 28? Jennings?
Marshall. So that used to be Marshall Falk in Starcraft. Yeah. So basically, I went to a tournament with him. This is back in WCG USA. Was it 2004? I think it was, or 2003, over in California. It was him and this other guy named Proct, P-R-O-C-T. He was like the best Terran player at the time in America. So yeah, Marshall. He was basically a grinder for both games. He was a grinder. Let's see here. Grinder, hardworking, and willing to what's the word I'm looking for? What's the word here? To take criticism. So he's constructive criticism. So he's receptive to constructive criticism.
Yeah, Marshall actually ended up being one of my closest friends in poker. It's funny, like, you know, one small Team Liquid community actually gets people together, and obviously we're still close friends until this day. I keep asking him for advice. You know, it seems like he's always like a couple steps ahead, because I think this is one of the greatest qualities in any of these, in poker, MMA, or poker, or Starcraft, is, as you said, to be able to take criticism and to constructively improve yourself, you know. I think wherever you go, there's always been my struggle, and that's why I think people like Marshall are always 2 steps ahead of me, and it seems I can never reach them, because, you know, you always are set in your ways. Let's talk about Elky.
Oh man, so I mean, man, I don't know. It's just 3 words.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It can be longer. It can be longer. Let's go.
I mean, ever since it's hard to only give 3 words, but
we can go longer about Elky because he's such a big figure of Liquid Poker.
So I mean, whether it's Starcraft or poker, I mean, Elky has just been. He's just had the mentality of just always wanting to be the best. He's been willing to change his style as far as whether it's Starcraft or poker. He's willing to adapt. So he's never like, oh, this is the best way. He's wanting to learn and get better. So he's obviously taken criticism, constructive criticism, and kind of reviewed his mistakes to get better at everything in life. So if I had to like narrow it down to like 3 words to describe Elky, I would say amazing, smart, and unique.
Amazing, smart, and unique. Let's go after the two last guys that were basically behind Liquid Poker. Naz.
Yeah. Oh man. So Nazghul. Oh man, he is. I would say. One word to describe him when I think of just anything related to poker, Liquid Poker, or Starcraft, Team Liquid, for example, it'd be founder. So I see him as like the dad role, because he's been there from the beginning for both sides.
He always came with as wise as someone that was measured at least from the distance. Yeah. Is it fair to describe him as that?
Yeah, wise. He was skilled in Protoss back in Starcraft. He was a skilled Protoss player.
He had low APM though, right? I remember he was a low APM player.
I can't remember his APM, but he was pretty good for a European back in the day. So yeah, wise, skillful, and he's always wanting to better the community, whether it's Starcraft or poker.
Yeah, and the last but not least, Meat.
So Liquid Meat, he's more of an unknown. So if you actually do remember Meat, it's basically he's the guy who created both of the websites, Liquid Poker and Team Liquid. So
he created Team Liquid.
Yeah, so he's like the guy. Wow. He's the guy who like put the websites together, and most people just remember Nazghul as like the face. But he's the guy who created the websites and kept them running.
I have about 20,000 posts, and honestly, I don't think I'm the only one.
Yeah.
Who doesn't even know this, you know? So yeah. I'm sorry, Meat.
Yeah.
So wow, that's incredible. So everything that Team Liquid has been, all the pro gaming and stuff like that, it started with Meat.
Yeah. Nowadays, the website's controlled by other people because they have like nodes. It's more like it might even be more like a business nowadays because they have.
Yeah, it's a corporate structure almost. They might have like some behind the scenes owners, honestly.
Yeah. But nowadays, there's even one guy from Team Liquid who plays poker on what's it called? There's a weekly show. He's played on several weekly shows. His name slips my mind, but he's Liquid something.
Yeah,
he plays poker as Liquid. I think Steve. I think it is Liquid Steve.
Liquid Steve. Yeah. The guitar avatar on Team Liquid. Yeah.
Yeah. So but anyway, I think it's either him or someone else who does who runs a website or something like that. But yeah, so Liquid Meat was the original guy who created both the websites, but I think he's out of the scene now. But yeah, so when I think of him, it's just kind of the architect. So if you want to use Matrix terms, the architect, right? Smart, because he started doing that long ago, many years ago, as far as creating websites. So the architect, smart, and creative.
I want to thank you so much for coming in for this journey into the past. It's been such a long time, all these things, And if any last words you want to say to this, let's face it, kind of dying community that Liquid Poker is?
Basically, if you still lurk on Liquid Poker, post something in the blog section. That way we know you're alive. If you're ever out here in Las Vegas, hit me up on Liquid Poker. I live in California, but I'm here in Las Vegas like at least once, sometimes twice a month. So just depends on which UFC events are going on. But I'm here often. And if you want to meet up, let me know. And I can even get you a free room. So let me know, and we can catch up over here in Las Vegas.
Right, guys. Thank you so much. Peace out.